Welcome to the Jill on Money Show. It's Friday, June 30th, and we are here answering financial questions, taking the mystery out of your financial life, and closing out the month and the quarter and the first half of the year. It also occurs to me as we head into this huge, long holiday weekend that wedding season definitely is kicking off with gusto. And so, to help you out as you either navigate your own wedding or marriage, or you're just needing a little bit of a refresher on why it's so important that couples talk about money, I'd love to present to you the segment that I did on CBS Mornings. And I want to play the segment. There's a lot of cross conversation here, so you have to listen up. Tony DeCopel, Gayle King, Vladimir Duthiers, they are the anchors. We have a conversation. After the segment, I want to talk about some of the aspects that we did not get to cover that are vitally important. So here is my segment from earlier this week on CBS Mornings.
As we head into peak wedding season, aka summertime, today's Money Watch looks at some financial topics every couple should talk about before they say I do. Not an easy conversation, but the good news is many couples are in fact having that difficult conversation. A survey from the wedding planning website The Knot finds that 86% of millennial couples, anyway, are talking about finances before engagement, in fact, and it goes up to 90% for Gen Z couples. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger joins us now. And Jill, I think the really hard part is actually beginning the conversation. So what tips do you have for people getting started?
Well, first of all, this often, as we see with the younger folks, it takes place when you're starting to cohabitate. And so we have real conversations about it. I want to remind everyone why it's so important. Number one, if something bad happens to your spouse, you kind of want to know, like, are we on the same page? And we have to get some things taken care of. But number two, if you're not talking about your money, there can be a weird power dynamic that develops among couples. So we want people to have conversations about their financial goals. Hey, what do you think is important in our lives? Number two, we're going to share information. Yeah. What does that mean? What kind of debt are you bringing into this marriage? What are our credit ratings? Really important, because if you're going to go get a mortgage, this is important. Mm-hmm. How much are we earning? What's your savings habit? What about your investing? What about your risk tolerance? These are so important. And of course, I wouldn't be me if I don't end a segment like this or the first question without saying wills, durable powers of attorney, and healthcare proxies. Right. Please, we got to get that done.
Where do you stand on joint banking accounts? I've always thought, well, when I first got married, I thought everything was 50-50. I once won an office pool of $24. I came home and gave him $12.50. I'm not kidding, because I thought, we're married and we should share everything. Now I feel you have yours, I have mine, and we have something joint together. Where do you stand on joint banking accounts?
I don't have a huge feeling on it. I feel like you must have the conversation. And I think...
Is there a right or wrong?
No, there is no right or wrong. And what's interesting about it is, I think more people are ascribing to your latter development on this, because you're getting married later, you already have an account. Yes. So I think it does make sense for those couples. But I've heard from a lot of people where there's a non-working spouse at home.
That's right.
Who feels weird about, like, oh, are you going to give me an allowance? Yes. Like, that feels strange. Whatever it is, talk about it. Make sure everyone is on the same page.
It's an interesting point, because you said something interesting there, that we got married later in life. And so we have entire careers and lives. And so when we came into it, there's transparency here. This is what I make. This is what's in the account. But we've never come to the decision to say, well, let's just combine everything. And I think it might be messy.
It can be. And I also think that when we're talking about this topic, we also have to acknowledge that there's a lot of wage disparity when a couple comes together. Yeah, and that can make it...
Katie was not.
But they say in a relationship, he who has the money has the power. Do you think that's true?
Not necessarily, because I think that whoever has... I think that what really has to happen is having conversations. Okay, we come to this later in life, or we're starting out. Who's managing the bill paying? Who's going to do that? Now, the reason why I think one person usually is responsible for that is that one person has a system that's pretty seamless. The other person often doesn't. But whatever your system is that you're choosing, talk about it. I have had couples who said, so-and-so, my husband had an accident. I don't even know how to pay the utility bill. Wow. So let's make sure everyone shares passwords, knows where the accounts are.
So
What's
how do you
the system?
start this tough conversation? Because it's still so hard for many people.
Yeah.
I think when you're talking about let's bring Katie in. Let's do a little couples therapy right now.
I distinctly remember we were walking down the street and we just said our numbers.
That's what you got to do.
I think
mine
that
were
you have
very low, and I just gone. When you want to talk. Here's the reason we can end on this. The reason you should talk about this is because couples fight over money. And you can get divorced if you don't talk about it.
Exactly. And for those people who are having real problems, you may want to bring in a third party, a financial advisor, to help you walk through this process, develop your game plan together.
Good advice as always.
Okay, one thing that we did not get to talk about during the segment is credit cards. And, we've always heard from people who are credit experts about the perils of a joint credit card. But recently I was asked by somebody who said, I don't have very good credit, and if I get a joint credit card with my spouse, that will help my credit. And so that is true. And although there may be an advantage if one person has a low credit score and they're trying to boost their score through the other's high score, there's a huge downside if something were to go wrong in the future. Remember, when you have a joint credit card, both people are technically on the hook for outstanding balances. And that means if there are any problems with late payments, both people's credit scores are negatively impacted. I say no to joint credit cards. The other thing that we didn't get to talk about is the entire conversation around a prenup. So I just want to go through that a little bit here. A prenup is a legal contract that outlines how couples would split up their financial lives in the event that the relationship does not work out. So it usually outlines what each spouse brings into the union financially, how couples would divide their assets that they accumulated during the marriage, and how they might manage future family gifts or inheritances. Now, the funny thing is, growing up, I always thought, a prenup, that's something for the rich. I don't think that's the case anymore. They're very popular with people who have been married previously or have children from a prior relationship, small business owners, couples that have a large wealth disparity. And there are also contracts that are drawn between people who are not legally married but live together. Those are called no-nups. They're very helpful, especially if you've got real estate transactions and estate planning. There are also some couples that draft an agreement that's called a post-nup. That's after they are married. It can be useful if your circumstances have changed. All right. So don't forget, after you have these tough conversations, you really need to make sure that no matter what, you're staying on top of your financial conversations between the two of you, at least annually. I like to think maybe right after you file your taxes. Have some time, discuss your goals, make sure your allocations of labor are still working for both of you. And also, maybe you start talking about whether or not you need the help of a certified financial planner. So that's it. That is the show. That is our Friday program. And if you do have questions about how to manage money between couples or any other question that is percolating in your brain, just go to our website, JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button, and let us know if you would be willing to come on the air. Don't forget, you can sign up for our free weekly newsletter. It comes out every Friday. Mark does a great job with that. And if you have the gumption, if you've got a few extra bucks, here's some summer reading. The Great Money Reset. It's my new book, and it is really been written as a way to help you make choices in your life that don't blow up your finances. So check it out, The Great Money Reset. Our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Karen Kranick, she's still our web queen, but she'll be leaving soon. Mark Talercio is our executive producer. We're distributed by Cadence 13. Try to lift someone up, change your work, change your wealth, change your life. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.